Good morning on Tuesday, December 14th, a date that will live in infamy, in internet infamy. I'm BVG. It's the 359 podcast, episode 333, the finale of the 2017 season. Your hosts today are Alfred and Ben Fox Rubin.
It's Thursday.
My dudes.
No,
It's Thursday, my dude.
not one more before the end of the year.
Yeah.
So everybody knows what we have to talk about today. Should we
Yeah.
just go ahead and shuffle that way?
Yeah, this is going to be a big show. I mean, we've been talking about net neutrality pretty much like all year long, just taking a look at the protests, the different issues that have been going along with it.
Pros and cons.
Yes.
There are pros.
So, today is the day. They're going to vote on it at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, or at least that's when the FCC's monthly meeting will start, and we'll be following along as it goes on. But we did want to get through a lot of talking points on our show today, and we'll also be talking about Disney's big acquisition. They now own Fox, which includes...
No. They agreed to purchase them.
Okay.
Hasn't happened yet.
Oh, it hasn't gone through yet. Okay. Thanks for clarifying, Ben.
Semantics.
So, yeah. Do you want to jump into it, or...?
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. The vote's going to take place any minute now, so let's have a podcast. And after 4 minutes worth of headlines, we'll join all of you back in the chat for an unseasonably early morning for us. And we'll take some questions and comments about net neutrality and other things. And that will be it for 2017 in the 359 podcast. So thanks, everybody, for joining in. We'll see you back in the chat in 3 minutes and 59 seconds from 3, 2...
Welcome to the 359. I'm Alfred Ing.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
After months of protest online and in person on every website from Google, Reddit, and Twitter to steps on Capitol Hill and outside politicians' offices, the big day has finally arrived. The FCC is voting today on net neutrality regulations that essentially guarantee the internet service providers need to treat all traffic on the internet equally, meaning Verizon, Comcast, Spectrum, whatever, would have to give Google the same treatment as, benfoxrubinshop.com or any small website.
Shop on benfoxrubinshop.com.
The regulations are meant to keep the internet open and fair, but the FCC's Ajit Pai has come out and argued that net neutrality stifles innovation and investments, and saying that getting rid of these regulations would actually lead to a better internet experience. Ben, this is a monumental decision in internet history. I mean, when we look back on this from the 359 episode 2 million, I mean, what do you think the internet is going to look like?
I mean, I don't really. It's a very good question and good job really explaining a lot of what net neutrality is. It's a pretty complicated issue. It's hard to say really what this is going to do, and that's why I'm certainly curious to see whether the vote actually does go through today, because it has been scheduled, but there's been a lot of pushback to delay the vote. Mm-hmm. And it's unclear how exactly this is all going to shake out, mm-hmm. whether it's going to impact consumers in any significant mm-hmm. way, whether a new administration with a new FCC chairman or chairwoman would end up just bringing back net neutrality. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of questions as far as what's actually going to happen here.
Mm-hmm. The New York Attorney General's office actually warned yesterday that 2 million of the comments on the FCC's website, commenting on this vote, mm-hmm. had come from stolen identities or were fake. Some of them had come from people that were had just died a month before they made the comment. And, the FCC rejected requests from the New York Attorney General's office, as well as 28 senators, I'm assuming including one today from Senator Susan Collins.
Yeah, it might be 29 with Susan Collins. But
to delay this vote until, this is properly investigated. It seems that every attempt, including the protests, to stop or delay this vote has kind of been unheard. I mean, why do you think the FCC is so determined to push ahead with this?
I don't really see a situation where the FCC, which is basically controlled by 3 Republicans at this point versus 2 Democrats that sit on the FCC board, what a delay would actually do in changing the calculus and their decision to repeal net neutrality. They view this as stifling regulation, going too far. Whether the vote happens today or a month from now, I don't know that. Why would they actually make a different determination with that? Mm-hmm. So that's probably why they've decided against delaying it, because it's just going to create more protests and add more pressure onto them. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to change their ultimate mm-hmm. decision.
And we talk about how there's there's going to be changes on this, but Ajit Pai has said in another interview talking about how it's not going to be like Y2K where everyone gets out and it's like an apocalypse on the internet all of a sudden. But there are definitely going to be certain gradual changes. I mean, when do you think the general public is going to feel its effects and, kind of realize, do you think it's going to take for it to hit their wallets or anything like that?
Yeah, I think the general public overall is somewhat vaguely aware that net neutrality exists and what's been going on there. But until it actually impacts people's wallets, I don't think that they're really going to be that involved, or at least most people.
Yeah. Also, in lighter news, but also important, Disney signed a deal to acquire Fox in a major deal that basically means that the X-Men and the Simpsons are now Disney-owned, will be Disney-owned, along with a lot of other Fox products. I think that means that Marge Simpson is a Disney princess now.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Also, game on Netflix. I mean, like that seems to be a big reason for this.
Yeah. We're following and covering the vote on net neutrality as it goes on throughout the day. Please be sure to check back with CNET.com for the latest updates. That's all the time we had on our show today. If you liked what you heard, check us out on CNET. I'm Alfred Ng.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
Thanks for listening.
Damn it. So I was actually one of those whose identity was compromised in part of the FCC commentary that did take place. I submitted my own comment manually in favor of maintaining net neutrality.
Human response.
Much of a human as I am thus far, and there was somebody built an algorithm or a tool or an app or something like that was connected through the FCC site. I honestly don't remember what the URL to it was right now. If I could find it, I'll put it in the show notes, although it's kind of too late now because this has already been well documented and uncovered. And you ran this, and what it did was it skimmed all of the comments, the millions and millions of comments, and it found my name 3 or 4 times submitted.
So it resubmitted your name 3 or 4 times.
It did. And although what was strange to me is at no point did it change the tone. At one of them essentially copy pasted my original comments. The other 2 were in the same favor of maintaining net neutrality, but they were different, like not my words at all. So that was my experience with it.
I wonder, though, what if there's just a lot of Brian Van Gelders in New York out there?
Not spelled with a Y, they're not.
Oh, okay.
I think we talked about this before. You mentioned that the bot armies that have attacked the FCC website with these comments have come from both sides, right?
Yeah, and we also don't know. So there's been a lot of investigations on this where, the Department of Homeland Security has actually asked the FCC basically, because when their website that came down or when all these comments came, they said, oh, this was a DDoS attack on us. But the thing was they didn't really provide any proof of it, especially when investigators had asked, can you provide us with the data that you were receiving so we can look into this more? Like, it was weird that they didn't want to provide that data after claiming that they had been attacked.
Do you think that Schneiderman and those senators have a reasonable argument to call for a delay because so many of those comments were,
I think if you're going to rely on a public comment system and say, hey, let us know what you guys think, but then, not actually get a look at it or not actually,
or have
appreciate
it not be valid.
Yeah, not appreciate the legitimacy of it. I think that's kind of making a mockery of the system that you're saying, oh, everyone has the ability to give us their opinions on it.
I hear you on that. It's basically asking people to put in, submit their comments into a comments box that's locked and never actually gets read.
It's absurd. And it's kind of making a mockery of the system that they say, we heard all your voices, except no, we didn't.
The thing is that I think we all understand that they brought up the point, the new FCC board brought up the point that, look, we're gonna take up repealing net neutrality, which means that they are probably going to do it. And it would have really surprised me if they said, geez, Brian made some really good points in his letter, and we're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it really just has to do with, like, they're the folks that are in power right now, and that's what they want to do.
All right, it's time to take a look at the chat. I'm excited to say that we have fantastic representation on both sides of the net neutrality repeal. As always, our audience is fantastically awesome. We'll get to some of those specifics later. Right now, I want to address a question or more of a comment from Pele, who says, I think 5G is going to make customers have a wide variety of internet providers. This seems relevant across the board in relation to what's going on. There's going to be big competition then, which is essentially what this vote is all about.
I mean, I think that's that would be nice, but I think you also have to consider who's going to be controlling and in charge of the 5G, which would be Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, etc.
And from a very personal, non-affiliated opinion, I've had bad experiences with service providers, and that's what makes me nervous as a card-carrying meme lord. But
wait, when you say service providers, you mean broadband providers, like somebody like Comcast or Spectrum?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, totally.
So that's what makes me nervous is because I don't trust the man.
They've been vilified for years. There is a lot of opportunity for folks like Verizon, which
They earned it.
Verizon and T-Mobile. I don't dispute that at all. But folks like Verizon and T-Mobile, at least at the moment, have pretty good consumer reputations. Maybe people would argue that Verizon charges a lot more money, and I'm a Verizon customer, so I don't personally like that as much. But there is an opportunity, going into Pele's comment, for those companies to actually try to steal customers from the incumbents because a lot of people really do not like their cable providers.
Sure, and let's just let's put this all out in Front Street as far as this entire conversation goes. This isn't about who's right or wrong now. It's about opening a Pandora's box that will be borderline impossible to shut again, at least without significant efforts, upward battle about where this goes from here. This isn't like automatically everybody's internet now costs double and you can't go to porn sites. This is now somebody else has the keys to that car. Let's see what they do with it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think, it's going to get to a point because this continues to, ping pong back and forth between, we are for net neutrality, and then, a new administration comes in and is like, oh, no, we're going to repeal it kind of thing. I think it's going to get to a point where senators and Congress members are going to have to get involved with this, basically saying we're going to sign a bill, basically designating this as opposed to it changing every time there's a new administration.
Which is understandable why a lot of people really deem that as being very undemocratic, because Ajit Pai and the other FCC folks on the board were not voted in. Yeah, they're brought in by,
and that's why they're able to take measures like these without kind of fearing, we're going to be up for election or something like that. Yeah. So it's kind of, they're not acting in the public's interest on this.
That's debatable. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. But going back, I wanted to make one other mention from Pele's point, which is one of the biggest concerns relating to repealing net neutrality has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of regional players are essentially monopolies. If 5G, and it's not coming quite yet, but if 5G does open up those monopolies and actually create some real competition, then the potential of you having to pay an extra $10 to your broadband provider for Netflix would be reduced, thanks to market forces. So here's hoping that does actually happen, but it's still, again, a lot of this stuff is really in question. It's up for debate whether it's actually going to happen one way or another.
If we're talking about 5G and kind of mobile data providers, though, you can kind of already see like a version of what, an internet without net neutrality is like. I mean, considering that, you on like if you have T-Mobile, you can get like Netflix for free, or like it doesn't affect your data plan, at least. Like you still pay for a Netflix account, but the data, like, it's not affected by that. I mean, I'm sure that, Netflix or T-Mobile have some kind of deal for that, and that's not exactly like net neutrality in that aspect.
Yeah, but it's. I appreciate what you said as far as that. Is that giving Netflix an extra boost or an extra benefit? From a certain perspective, I think
it's like if I were using T-Mobile, right, and I had both a Netflix and a Hulu account, but I know that Netflix doesn't bite into my data plan. Like, why would I ever watch anything on Hulu? And that kind of like tanks business for them.
What? Because Hulu has Futurama on it, which is a good show.
So it is 10:37 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The FCC has convened.
Yep.
Do we have any real-time updates?
I'm watching a live stream right now. Right, they're currently talking about the 911 call system. So it's not the FCC yet.
Gotcha.
It's about like emergency
bureaucratic
systems.
meetings.
Well, I don't have it in front of me because I've got everything else in front of me. So I was curious to see.
I actually sent you the live stream on Slack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna go to that right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's take some more questions and comments. Srinjoy, when FCC gets barraged with the inevitable lawsuit posts with this vote, how slow will those lawsuits be moving to take any significant effect?
That's super hard to tell because who knows?
I like what he's saying.
Totally. I think the problem is that whether a judge would actually grant an injunction or not.
Yeah.
And if an injunction is allowed, then the net neutrality repeal would be barred or held off until the actual lawsuit
I also think the lawsuits would probably be thrown out in the same way that you can't sue your senators for voting on something that affected you negatively. I don't really think that this is something that
it's a tactic.
Yeah,
I mean that's a good point.
I think it would be
but
thrown out though. I don't think any court would like take that case.
At the same time, I do think that it seems inevitable that the lawsuits will be filed. There are a lot of folks that have argued very strongly against this, and to at least try to take it to the judicial system and see what they can get out of that. I wouldn't be surprised if it went in that direction.
Taking some more from the chat to keep the conversation going. Christopher Burke, what effect will the lack of net neutrality have on non-U.S. ISPs? Now, we've had this conversation several times on the show before. It's a great question that keeps getting brought up. And people like Obsessive Brunette think, oh, this isn't going to affect me in the UK. Well,
you know my answer to this. You go for it.
I'm not going to respond to this. This is your show.
I don't know your answer for this. I don't think I was on the show when you gave that answer.
I've said this before, but and I'll say it again, and it is a very good question, is that a lot of regulators internationally look to the United States because the United States is often viewed as a gold standard for a lot of regulatory regimes. So it's possible that...
Also for hamburgers.
Right. Absolutely. So it's possible that the U.S.'s position ends up, influencing other decisions. But every, sovereign state is different. So is the UK going to get affected? In the short term, probably not. I don't think that the same conversations are going on in the UK right now.
Not necessarily the ISPs, but a lot of the media actually consume the information, the data consumed on the internet might in fact be affected if it originates within U.S. borders.
The other way of looking at this too is that if there's a significant backlash and the internet is seen as being significantly eroded by the repeal of net neutrality, then obviously other sovereign states are going to look at this experiment that the United States decided to do with bringing net neutrality and then repealing it a couple of years later and decide on, I don't know, some other tactic, because nobody wants to see the internet significantly diminished.
Mm-hmm. Ricky Brito, is the net the typo net nutritional bill?
I think we're onto a different topic.
Perhaps. No,
Let's
I think
talk
that
about
was
net nutrition.
I think that was a typo, but I could not help but acknowledge it because that was great and made my day. Is the net neutrality bill going to apply to wireless networks as well?
I don't think so. I think that's a different network entirely, but I wish Roger was here because he knows the answer to that.
Well, somebody had to take vacation nice and early this year. Just putting that out there. Sorry, Roger, I love you. Josh Boyda, do you think this will give Google Fiber a second chance? Ooh, silver lining.
Yeah, I was considering that.
Don't laugh at me.
No.
I'm trying to be optimistic for the first time on this show.
It's very optimistic to think that Google Fiber is going to get a shot in the arm from this.
Yeah,
I would argue.
I would say that Google Fiber kind of died out though because of local legislation. They had tried going to, I believe it was Nashville, where they had tried setting up, but then all the ISPs there were basically saying, no, you can't come in here. And, there were a lot of arguments, at their, on the state government level, just about whether or not Google is trying to intrude on these territories, I guess, set up by Comcast and all that. And then they were kind of eventually driven out of town. So, I mean, the argument about, oh, there's not that much tech innovation because of all these regulations, and yet Google is trying to come in, and they weren't even driven out because of net neutrality regulations. They were kind of driven out because of ISPs that didn't want the competition. So
I think that if there is a potential white knight in this situation, it would probably be 5G
or Harvey Dent.
Or Harvey Dent, absolutely. But with Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint jumping in to the fray, that seems more likely because Google Fiber didn't really work out. Verizon Fios isn't expanding anymore, and that's because it's really expensive and time consuming, and sometimes very difficult on the local level to expand the fiber systems, the fiber optic systems. So it's much easier to do it wirelessly with 5G, and that's why I would expect 5G to if there's going to be new competition in the market, it's going to come from there.
Well said. Let's take one more question from net neutrality position before we move on. We are getting low on time, but we're going to try to hang out and see if there's anything developing. Alfred, anything yet?
Still on the NYPD currently and the 911 emergency system.
Understandable. Fair enough topic to occupy some time.
Yep.
We'll have continuing coverage as the day continues. Srinjoy, can this be an opportunity for Silicon Valley entrepreneurs who are pro-net neutrality launch new ISPs that brag of equal internet? Surely they will get good hedge funds.
Yeah, I think that Google Fiber, to a certain extent, was exactly that. You know, that was a major Silicon Valley company that was investing significantly in a new concept, and it didn't really pan out.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing to me, that, you know, we've always looked at Google as kind of this like major like corporation, but the fact that they can't beat red tape and ISP lobbyists is
Nothing beats the government.
yeah, it's insane. And, you know, I don't even think getting rid of, you know, I mean, if we're going with the FCC's argument here, or Ajit Pai's argument about, you know, there hasn't been that much innovation because of all this like red tape and regulations. But the thing is, like, the things that he's like changing doesn't like help Google Fiber or any new ISPs come out there. So it's, you know, the innovation that he's talking about like is not like boosted by repealing net neutrality. It's absurd.
Tell me how you really feel.
It's absurd.
It's absurd.
All right, Lost Legacy. He's got a good question here. Do you think that Apple will buy Netflix to compete with Disney buying Fox?
That would be like such like a
Why would they
brain
do
exploding.
that? Yeah.
My brain would explode if Apple bought Netflix, and I feel like that's like one of the many like acquisition parlor games that a lot of folks play. It would be like, is Apple gonna buy whatever?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody tried to buy Netflix a minute ago, didn't they? And didn't.
Not Blockbuster.
A few years ago, was it?
No, it's not. Definitely not Blockbuster.
There's something tickling in the back of my brain that's making me recall that somebody made like a, I don't know if it was a formal offer or it was like, we're considering it kind of thing, and Netflix just kind of laughed at it. Am I way off on that one? Did I dream
I don't know.
it?
Yeah,
I don't
I
know. It's entirely possible, but it doesn't strike any memories in my
never mind.
giant brain.
Out of my element here. Anyways, I thought that was kind of funny. Like, imagine the war of the major networks buying these young whippersnappers, and
Netflix is like so expensive though. What
Yeah.
is it? What's its market cap? I don't really know. It might be somewhere to the tune of 70 billion. Obviously, Apple could afford it. The question is
I don't think
would they be able to
Netflix-
do
yeah.
it more cheaply, and would Netflix want to be
Yeah.
purchased is a more important part.
There is a comment saying that it was Blockbuster. It depends on how long ago we're looking at. So Netflix did offer. This was like when Netflix was still like the DVD model only,
Right.
where they'd send it. And I think they like offered to sell to Blockbuster for like a very low price, like something like $1 million or $2 million. And Blockbuster is essentially, we're not interested in that.
people like to leave their home.
So yeah, that's what happened with Blockbuster. If there was something recent though, I wouldn't know about that.
Okay, yeah, this wasn't anything recent. It was something I think I remember hearing about in the earlier days of Netflix, before they dominated everything. But anyways, let's talk. I can't pronounce the screen name at all, but they ask if Family Guy was part of the deal. So Family Guy would be part of the deal as far as an IP goes, but being that Family Guy exists on the television network, Fox maintains ownership and control of Fox
Airing
TV
it.
broadcasting. So that's going to be one of those weird gray areas, just kind of like The Simpsons, too, if you really think about it. But I think that opens up a lot of doors for creative crossover as far as characters encountering each other in movies and whatnot. I'm not sure how it's
more in the comic book realm, right?
yeah, but I mean, what are some of the IPs that are, if we really think about this, we said Simpsons, we got X-Men, but I heard that there was some kind of shakeup with X-Men and Fantastic Four, and it might not be as simple as like, okay, now they exist in Marvelverse or in the Feigeverse right now. What else? Because Fox is maintaining news and sports, but everything in the entertainment division is essentially up in the air at this point.
Disney is purchasing Fox Studios, which does include The Simpsons. They're also getting like the movie studio. That's why X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool are they going to rejoin the Marvel universe? Those are some of the bigger headlines.
They might be there in the reboot. I don't think they'll be there for like Infinity Wars.
No,
I've
no,
talked
it's
about
already
this with
going
you.
on.
No,
too
but
late.
like because it's supposed to be like a 2-part thing. But like the whole
It'll
thing
be
is
like
like
a 15-part thing.
But the thing is, like, if they're talking about, like, so the whole MCU is essentially about, like, world building and stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, this happened, and then Doctor Strange happened to be there, but he was, like, in the background or something like that, that kind of thing. You can't just bring the X-Men in because, like, it would have just been, where the hell were you this whole time when, New York was getting attacked and, like I believe Xavier Academy or whatever is, like, supposed to be in upstate New York. So it's just, if the X-Men...
Westchester.
They were busy, dude. Just make up an excuse.
It's like, okay, cool. Like, all this stuff was happening, and the X-Men were just like, we got class.
They were stuck in traffic. At this point, if the end result is they all get to share the screen, we'll buy whatever excuse they can come up with.
The only crossover that I could see happening is like Deadpool kind of just like breaking the fourth wall.
And absolutely should.
Yeah, and just like popping out like, hey guys, what's up? And then just like leaving. Like that would...
People are concerned, however, if Deadpool is going to get neutered in going to a Disney-owned property.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Not interesting. It's kind of like pretty much a guarantee.
You think so?
If he is, though, it'll regenerate.
Disney has made. Oh, you did not go there.
I didn't even hear that.
Disney
I'm glad
has
I didn't.
made R-rated films in the past, usually through their subsidiaries, Miramax, and so on, but it's not unheard of. But Deadpool belongs in the R-rated realm. That's all that people are worried about.
Yeah.
Any news and updates on FCC?
While the testimonies from the NYPD, the family of a slain NYPD officer have stopped talking now, the FCC is back, just commenting about blue alerts, which is actually pretty important, but it is not, landmark internet stuff. This is
so
actually really important, though.
Yeah, but like this is also reminiscent of like I used to be a local news reporter, and this is what agendas look like. Even though everybody's like all eyes are directed at the FCC at this point, they're gonna go through their agenda, and usually it's like the very last item on the agenda that's the important thing.
I mean,
'cause
it's
they want you
really
to sit through the other stuff.
It's
They
specifically
should really sell ads in between these. Like they should put like ad breaks in these hearings. They could make a lot of money for like Verizon or just I don't know.
Yeah, but like they already take our money. Like they just take it through taxation.
Just saying, if they're making us wait for this big climactic conclusion, this is TV 101. They should know this.
It's true. They should have a lot of commercial breaks.
Yep.
Brought to you by Charmin.
By Manon. So we're still going to be waiting. How long do you think we're going to be sitting here?
I can check what's on their agenda to see how many items they have to go through.
This would be really funny if we just kept the podcast going until the vote happened, but we might be stuck here for a while. So
Yeah, I thought we were kind of anticipating that this might go quick this morning.
Let's see.
That's what I was hoping.
New
but
emergency alert system for blue alerts, then rural healthcare support mechanism, followed by Twilight Towers public notice, then restoring internet freedom. I believe that is the net neutrality vote.
Sounds about right.
Then CMRS presumption report and order.
These
Electronic
names
delivery
that they
of
come
cable
up with.
communications, and then national television multiple ownership rule, which is also an important vote. Yeah.
So it's right smack in the middle, and
Yep.
I think we're at agenda.
We're only at the first item on
we're
the docket.
at docket number 2.
We're at
Agenda
docket
item
number one. Yeah, docket number 15-94.
And
Okay, people.
Net
we've-
neutrality is number 3 in the
No, 4,
agenda.
I
4?
think.
You said 4?
I
One,
think
two, three.
I think we're
4. It's 4 out of.
we're just gonna
7
turn this
items.
into a marathon.
It's number 4 out of 7 items.
Guys, we don't have anything
We're
else to
stretching
do today, right?
Yeah, no, we're stretching at this point.
No, it's
I wish we could sit around for this entire thing and wait and catch it in real time, but I don't think it's going to be in the cards.
Just put the live stream on our channel.
Yeah, because that's legal.
It's the FCC.
Exactly.
Anyway, all right. I think that we've dragged this on long enough.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Sorry, everybody. We wish we could sit around, but unfortunately, I have to move on to another project at 11. If
And
you
you
got
will
problems
have-
with it, go hit up Ajit on Twitter and tell him he's too slow.
And we will have a lot of coverage on this
Yes.
today on CNET.com.
CNET
so
is-
definitely check it out.
CNET's definitely not ignoring this. We just have to end the podcast because we have to end the podcast.
Yeah.
And on that note, it is the final live podcast of 2017.
So I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you very much, Mr. Brian BVG.
My pleasure.
For your very capable and, dare I even say, cromulent efforts as the producer, and we wouldn't be here without you. So thank
Yeah,
you.
I
Except for
don't-
those times that like the microphones broke and
It's usually happens on like the most important days, but I will forgive you a million times over.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it without killing us.
it's not you. It's everybody else around me.
And of course, we want to say thank you to everybody that comes and listens and shows up and asks questions, and it's been really great having people come back over and over and over again. And we follow a lot of people back and forth on Twitter now, and it's been great to keep that conversation going.
I don't know how you do it without killing us.
That's true. And, we try to answer as many of your questions as we can. Sometimes we get them right. Sometimes we don't know the answer,
Sometimes
and
we
we
just
try to
make 'em
tell
up.
you. Yeah. But,
Hey,
you
to
know,
shout out and name a few: Michael Brown, Pele, Srinjoy, our new buddy Srinjoy, Imagine Sagi, Josh
Tammy
Boyda,
Thompson.
Danny Green, Tammy Thompson, Matthew Datcher, Pamela. Yeah, we have some fantastic loyalists, and we always love seeing the new faces too. So from our home,
We live
to
here.
yours,
from our podcast to yours.
thank you. And of course, if we forgot anybody, with that. We're flawed human beings, as obviously demonstrated on a daily basis here. So on that note, we will have a couple of filler episodes to kind of supplant in next week.
Yep.
Hopefully you enjoy those on YouTube live stream and otherwise. But until then,
Yeah, that's it for the year.
Why don't you do it? You got the
Yeah,
honors.
if you liked what you heard, the 359 podcast is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, FeedBurner, Google Play Music, and of course, CNET.com. It's
And the
usually
Amazon
available on
Echo.
the Amazon Echo, but we're not putting today's episode on, are
Well,
we?
maybe.
Maybe
Who
we will.
knows?
Okay, we might. So,
either way,
yeah.
you should subscribe
This is
there.
this is a really good way to end the year with just fumbling around.
Sloppy and
I
appropriate.
purposely left it out. It was not a fumble.
That's okay.
It was a mulligan.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Thanks, everybody. Happy whatever holidays are on your docket. Happy New Year. We'll see you from the CES stage in 2018. Looking forward to it.
Happy New Year.
Take care.